Hey everybody, it's Amy Head with New Perspectives for Life in Marietta, Georgia. It's great to be back with you again today as we continue talking a little bit about kids and stress and their emotions and how they handle all these things and how we kind of handle those things as they are experiencing them. So I thought we could talk a little bit today about when kids are feeling stressed, what is it exactly that they are stressed out about? Because I think sometimes as parents, it's easy kind of for us to think to ourselves, what could you possibly have to be stressed out about? You have all the conveniences in life, you have everything provided for you, we're taking care of you, there's nothing that you want for, so what could possibly be stressing you out? That's a pretty valid thought that we might have because we know life is so different now than when we were kids, when we were their age. At the same time, the human condition is kind of the same across generations. So when we were younger, we probably felt stressed, and maybe our parents did or didn't understand why, but we knew we felt it. Same for our kids now. Even though they have conveniences, even though they have lots of things, even though they have the world at their fingertips, they're still stressed out. So what is it that creates that stress for them? Well, obviously it's hard to know because every child's different, but I do think there are some themes that create stress for kids. And I think one of the biggest themes is social life, social network, all of the things that go along with social media. Because there is constant 24/7 comparison, especially for the older elementary school kids and the high school kids and college kids. There is no way to get away from the fact that some people have a better life than I have, or some people have more things or have better looks than I have. And these thoughts, even though we know they shouldn't play that much of a role in their minds, these thoughts can be very dominating. And when these thoughts become very dominating, it sets in a level of stress that sometimes is hard to manage for these kids. Another factor is whether or not we as the parents or the adults in these kids' lives are hearing the fact that they're stressed. Because I think sometimes we tend to, without even maybe realizing it, we tend to discount how stressed they might be. We tend to downplay it. We might tend to minimize it. Oh, come on, it's not that bad. Why would you be stressed out about that? Look at all of this. Look what I've got to go through. Sometimes we even put ourselves in a point of comparison. You think you have stress. Look what I've got on my plate. We don't mean to do these things. These just come up in natural conversation. But in a child's mind, in a teenager's mind, what they hear from that is no content at all. They hear the message, what you feel is invalid. What you think is stress is invalid. And when they feel invalidated, their value goes down and their stress level goes up. And we don't even mean to do that most of the time, probably all of the time. But in their minds, how they are perceiving and receiving information from us can create that. So the social life, kind of our interactions with our own kids, and then sometimes the stress just comes from within, like a lot of us, right? Some of the kids are very high achieving and they can't do good enough and they can't do well enough, and it's never enough to be perfect. Some kids aren't that motivated and they might be actually okay with that, but that's not okay by society standards, by the school standards, by our standards as a family, and so the stress comes in there. But I think the bottom line is whatever factors into these kids' stresses, the thing that we need to keep aware of is if it's on their mind as a stress, it is valid to them. If they feel stressed, that is valid. We might not agree with it, and we might think they're playing it up, and we might think it's really not that valid, and we can think all of those things. But if we translate that message to the kids, they will come away feeling more stressed because they have been less heard. So something we might want to think about is when our kids or our teens or our college kids tell us that they're stressed, instead of engaging in some banter back and forth as to how could you possibly be stressed or why would you say that, ask questions about the stress. What's making you feel stressed? Tell me more about that. because sometimes just that conversation where it's open and validated is enough to actually bring the stress down. And the circumstances haven't changed, but the support is felt and the validation is felt. And then the child, the teen, the college student can then feel more management over it because they don't feel alone in the stress or not heard, right? So these are the things we want to think about. We don't have to buy into their stress. We don't have to, get all into that, but we do want to buy into our child. And so if our child is feeling stressed, the most important thing is to buy into the child, invest and pour into the child, and ask questions and gain more information so that we can gain more understanding, but more importantly, so that they feel that they are validated, valued, and cared for and supported. And that sometimes alone is enough for them to manage the stress. I hope that's helpful for you today. We'll continue talking about stress and emotions in kids in some of our next videos, but thank you so much.